Yes, it's also autobiography, and well, she gave me like the power, to do it, because the confidence, because I was like, who wants to read my book? Like, nobody.
Six days a week, full hardship.
You can always do something right, even if it's going wrong.
Is this what you want to do, or is there something else you would like to do?
Get a mentor. We live a life of abundance. Welcome to the show, Coffee with Kunal. Today, we have the Tecles Sisters here with us, Magdalena and Lydia over here. Their journey has been truly inspirational and exciting. They're both born and raised in Spain, lived in Germany, and now they both live in Cabo, Mexico. I met the sisters for the first time early on this year at a conference in Mexico. It was the EXP conference. Engaged with them, there was something about the sisters that really intrigued me. And over the last few months, stayed in touch. We met again at another EXP conference, this time in Dallas, Texas. So this morning, we're going to be sharing their story with you, how they have journeyed over the years, living in Spain, then Germany, then coming to US, and now in Mexico. Welcome on the show today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We would love to hear your story and hear about the Tecles Sisters today. Share it with us.
Sure. You want to start?
You start. I'm pretty nervous.
Okay. Let's go then. Well, we are from Spain, as we said. Our family still lives there. I left my home with 18, go to university, and I've been working in the communication industry now 20 plus years. Yes, I've been traveling the world also, working in other countries, Switzerland, France, Thailand, and that brought me to Germany. So we learned the language there, and then I met a loving man. I fell in love with him, and it didn't work out. That happens sometimes. But we had a son, a beautiful son, that he was born in 2013, Leon.
And that means a lion.
A lion, exactly.
That means lion,
it's
right.
Spanish name for a lion, exactly. And I didn't know it at that time why God told me to give him that name. Now I know. So he was born in 2013, and his father abused me and our child, and he left for good. And I was a single mom for 3 years, while my son was 1 year, 2 years, and 3 years old. And then suddenly, out of the blue, the father came back, and he came back. I was a foreigner in Germany. He was German. So he came back with police, with judges.
Lawyers.
Lawyers, really nasty lawyers. Really nasty lawyers. And it took my son, they kidnapped my son, really.
At the age of 3, while you were an alien in Germany,
right.
Your ex-husband took over the custody of your kid, and that's been years.
Yes.
And you haven't seen him since then.
No, that happened in September 2016. Now we are in August. Yes, it's almost 5 years. I have no idea where he is, neither my family. You must imagine my parents, it's a grandchild. So it really changed our whole family, and emotionally I was lost.
That's a really traumatic experience, what you suffered a few years back. But that experience made you tougher. And over the years, what you've been doing is traveling the world, engaging with single moms or single parents who have lost their kids, they've been taken away. And
Right.
you find certain level of commitment and encourage them to be more successful. I also know that you've written not one, not two, but 20 books over the years.
Yes.
And the communication degree that you have has helped you evolve, not just as a writer, but someone who's uplifting people all around the world. Share with us some success stories where you've met a single mom whose kid was taken away, and how you kind of help them get out of the misery.
I have a beautiful story that happened in Tijuana.
Okay.
There were 5 moms, their children were kidnapped, they're still missing. And I was just sharing to a group full of people. There were also women that just came out of jail, for example. They listened to me. We shared tears and we shared happiness, laughs. But when one of those 5 moms came to me, the other 4 also came to me, and they were saying, you know, that's exactly what we needed to hear, because we couldn't cope with our anger and with our fears. Because the one question you have, and you know that, is always, is he still alive?
Is he all right?
Is he all right? That's the second one, you know. But as a mom or as an auntie or, you know, as a dad, first question, is he still alive? Will I see him again? And they were just saying, you know, that now we understand, like, go over that question and then ask yourself, well, what can I do? How can I improve? You know, for example, if this child is going to come back, if my son is going to come back, isn't it better if the mom is stronger emotionally, so you have the force and the courage to take care of that bird that maybe he comes back and he has like broken wings, you know? So you need to be emotionally strong and financially strong, exactly, you know? Or even location strong. I don't know, I mean, there are cases in South America, for example, you know, they search for the whole family, you know, the mafia or whatever, so maybe when your son or your daughter comes back, you need to leave. So you need to be able to do it, you know, financially and everything.
To leave the country
exactly.
or whatever.
So just that moment, it was so beautiful, and it stayed with me, because the first thing that you really need to do, and you know that as a leader that you are, is emotionally be strong again. Learn, read books, go to events like Tony Robbins we're going to see today, for example. You have to train yourself, coach yourself, really. Of course you're gonna cry, you know, but it's like, I passed from crying 24/7,
yes,
and now I cry, let's say, I don't know, maybe 4 times a year, you know. Of course,
she can tell the story now without starting crying.
Exactly.
Because it was also at the beginning, she always started crying when she was telling the story. So.
Yes, exactly.
But now she's kind of smiling, right? It's difficult still for her, but.
Yes,
it's getting better.
You personally have evolved emotionally over the years, and now you're all about what you said was, when your son or anyone's kid comes back, as a single mom, you want to be financially strong. You want to take care of the kid. You have to have the ability of supporting that kid. So again, that's really amazing. So you're sharing the story where you've gone to different locations, met with mothers, helped them, uplift them, and the books that you've written. Give us examples. What books have you written so far?
Well, all my books that I have written is really for my sisters.
Okay.
You know, it's really, my tone is for them. I started just writing really a diary because, as I said, like, I felt so lost. Nobody was listening to me. You remember that?
We couldn't hear it anymore. We were tired. It's like, I said to her, like, you know, start talking everything what is wrong with you and with your kid and everything, and start writing it. Because nobody could hear it anymore, you know?
People get sad from your sad story. You know? So I started like writing a diary, what was happening to me. Well, it turned into a book because she said, well, why don't you publish it? And I said, oh, actually when I was a child, I always wanted to be like Paulo Coelho.
Yeah.
Do you remember? Okay, yeah, well, why not? But as the story continued, so I wrote 4 autobiographies. It's a saga. It's called La Malquerida. Means like the broken-hearted.
And these are in Spanish?
This is in Spanish, yes. And the first one of the saga is being translated right now by my editor, Kenna Richard.
Okay.
Yes. So, and later, as I said, I just went out to the world actually to find answers, right? And that's how God brought me these mothers that were happening the same. And then I realized, well, I've always been like kind of optimist and encouraging people and you know, being a sunshine for people. So I just started doing it by nature. But then I realized, well, I can write also books about it, you know, about my journey, what I learned. So that's why, I mean, all my books that I've written, if it's the different genres, you know, autobiography, poetry, self-help, you know, different. But it's always for my sisters, you know. And it's really my journey, because obviously my first book, it's not the same like my last book.
That's right.
The journey of writing the books, and then your sister came back into your life. You were also born in Spain. Then you traveled your way into Germany. Then you traveled your way to the US. And now you're in Kabul. And early on this year, you know somebody in the industry in Cabo, Mexico, but by
Right.
profession, you are a hairstylist. You are somebody who makes people look beautiful and amazing.
Right.
And you met someone who was actually with the EXP organization, and he was in Mexico. He brought you over to an event that we had in Cabo.
Right.
That's where your big sister, your big mama came along with you, just to make sure you were not causing.
Exactly.
Mi línea.
So you came for that event, you engaged with a lot of people, and that's where your journey started with EXP. But walk us through your journey of life. We would love to hear what you've been through.
Well, thank you so much that you are making this question. I always like to share my story with the people. My journey started when I was 17. Also, I left my parents' house. I want to travel the world and be free and everything, right? But I was penniless, and I started just, studying and always working on the same time. I live in many different places, and then I also, when the crisis hit in 2008, right?
Yes.
In Spain, in all over the world, but especially in Spain, hit like really hard. So I said, well, let's go to another country, right? And start again. And then I decided to go to Berlin, to Germany, and then I started studying there also.
Was there at that time?
No.
Okay.
No.
Different time.
I went later because she was there.
Okay, she was
Exactly.
the first.
Exactly.
Little sister was the first.
Exactly, exactly. So I continued study then and working and everything. I was, for I could say like my first 10 years of working, I was a workaholic. I was always working, no freedom, and I always tried to get at least, like 1 month traveling or 2 months. And I said, well, but I want to do this like every day, So how can I do it? And I said, well, I can cut hair everywhere. I can do this everywhere. So let's do it. And then at that moment, I met a guy who was crazy like me, also traveled the world before. Yeah, I think I'm crazy. Well, who is not crazy, right? I think everybody's a little bit crazy. So, but yes, this is at least what I learned, not that my parents teach us, like you are crazy if you travel the world. So maybe it's getting more usual, no?
Okay.
That people, but yeah. So we start talking together our dreams. We read always books like the 7 Years on Tibet, and everything. And I said, well, we want to travel the world. How we can do it? So financially, we took some money apart. And then I said, yes, I can work everywhere. I'm not scared about that. So let's go. And then we did all the flight from Europe, from Madrid, from Spain to Cancun in Mexico. Then we bought a VW bus, a yellow one, like the one from Bob Marley. I don't know if someone remembers that old VW bus.
Yeah.
So it was. And then we did it like all the inside, we built it up with a bed, with a kitchen, with everything, and start traveling the country like a whole America. So
it's
we
like
did.
a caravan, right?
Yes.
With all the amenities in it, and you were driving, living, and traveling the world. Wow.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that for almost 4 years until COVID hit. So when COVID hit, everything changed, right?
Yeah.
So from one moment to the other, they closed the borders, they closed everything. People were not happy anymore with travelers, they stopped you because they thought like, oh, you have COVID maybe, or, and everything changed, just like this. And I said, what can I do right now? So at the first, we just wait, right? I think everybody waits when COVID hit.
Right.
So we were also, kind of enclosed, no? We couldn't go out and everything for weeks, right? So after that, we start thinking, we are a little bit tired, 4 years full-time traveling, always on the road, always, fighting with the world, getting new cultures, new languages. We had no AC, so when it's hot, it's hot. When it's cold, it's cold, and everything. So we were also a little bit tired, maybe we should rest also a little bit from traveling, And we said, well, let's go somewhere where we really want to have a home, to call a place, this is our home. And we were thinking, of course, Mexico and Costa Rica. Okay. Those were like the most beautiful countries for us. And with the people, with the culture, with the food, with everything. And at that moment, Costa Rica was still closed. Right. So we said, okay, let's go to Mexico. And which is a great thing because she also fell in love in Mexico back in the 2017. I go a little bit back, okay? Yeah. In 2017, we hit the road, right? And she was struggling a lot back in Europe, right? And I said to her, like, come over just for a few weeks to travel with us, have a fresh air coming in your life and in your...
See new things,
Exactly.
A big sister for her.
Exactly. We always take together each other. Yeah.
Yes,
so
we are really close. Since
exactly.
Forever.
So when we were in LA, she flight to LA, and then we were traveling with her like for 2 or 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. I think this changed her mind completely. Because she was in a new country, everybody was hearing the story and trying to help her, So we start finding really nice people. Sorry.
Yes.
Finding really nice people that they want to help us and everything. And so she ended up also being in Mexico. She always came over, for 1 or 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. Around our trip. We met again like in Cancun, and the rest of the time we were all the time on the telephone.
Yes, exactly, yes.
Exactly.
I went to my first self-development event actually in LA in that year.
Yes.
Wow.
And also like the biggest event, he does big events like Tony Robbins, so for me that was also life-changing.
Life-changing, of course.
So then she moved to Mexico as well, and you were now living in Cabo.
Now we are living in Cabo. Yes.
Yeah.
So how did you empower yourself by being in real estate? How did that happen?
Well, the thing is that we moved to Cabo, and I was reading for many years Robert Kiyosaki, and I said, I want to go to real estate someday, right? I want also to have like multiple streams of income, right? So how can I do that, right? So I also write a book, I publish a book.
About her traveling.
Yes. Mm-hmm. It's also autobiography. Mm-hmm. And she gave me like the power, to do it, because the confidence, because I was like, who wants to read my book? Like nobody.
Don't you want to hug her? She's just the sweetest girl on the planet Earth.
Well, I published... We let me read that.
All right.
I love your sister.
Yeah, sure.
So you wrote that book, autobiography.
Exactly. And then when I was trying to get more information how to do real estate, right? And how to do it in Mexico. So I got my certification then there. I start talking with people who can be my mentor and everything. And by that moment, I was cutting the hair of Troy Daniels. Okay. So I met Troy Daniels, and we start always talking about personal development, sharing stories. And he said like, I'm in real estate since many years, and I met like a company with Brain Go, because they are really close together. Right. And I said, who the hell is Brain Go? It's like I know Kiyosaki, Tony Robbins, Jorin Clarick, exactly. Jim Rohn, Zig Ziglar. But I said, who is Brain Go? And I said, okay, let's check it. Then I started watching the YouTube videos, and I said, that's awesome. That's awesome, because I was also looking, I got to a few presentations from other, network marketing companies, and I never find my one, who I really feel it. And I was still looking for that. And then when I realized it's like, this is like network and real estate, that's perfect.
With location freedom?
With location freedom, yes, exactly, because I want to continue traveling, So I said, that's awesome. And by that moment, everything happens for a reason in life. It was the mastermind in Cabo.
Correct.
So Troy Daniels invited me. And I said, wow, yeah, let's go. I said, okay, I can come work for 5 days because I'm going to be there. My clients were calling me and I didn't answer nothing. I was just focused, to be all day in that. Engaged,
yeah.
Exactly. And this is where I met you too.
Just a coincidence.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And the paths crossed. And while I met you a few times, we spent some time, but did not realize the depth of your stories. We're sisters born in Spain. You moved to Germany when you were just 17, 18 years old. Built your life up, and for a period of time, you were actually living on streets, right? And you were kind of like homeless.
It's like, exactly, because, in Germany, it's like, it's a problem with the rentals. So you can, at least in Berlin, and I don't know if it's still like that, but at that moment, you couldn't get a rent.
Okay.
It was so hard to find, so I was also living like for 2 years in a small box, I could say. She said always it's a box. It was just, a bed and a wardrobe, and that's it. And I'm really thin, so I could always pass like this. But yeah, for me it was like, in one of the biggest cities in the world, and I can, grow up a lot here. So I went also to the best companies from the beauty industry because I want to work. It's like now, it's always I want to work with the best ones, with the best of the best. Yes.
Fascinating story. So people watching today, there are probably moms, or people who have lost their kids, or kids have been taken away. If they want to reach out to you and get some inspiring words from you, or read some of your books, how would they reach out to you?
This is our last name, Tecles.
Tecles Sisters?
Yes. So we thought we joined forces and not separate forces.
Yeah.
That's why
Right.
we did Tecles Sisters. Social media, we're Tecles Sisters.
Okay.
Yes. And then obviously my books are my name, Magdalena Tecles. Her book is on her name, Lydia Tecles.
Right.
Yes. Actually, our father, he's writing books now too. Our father, he has been writing poetry to his loving wife now for what, more than 40 years.
Yeah, more, yes.
Wow.
So he has
Since
stacks
they
of
met.
papers, and I just encouraged him, like, why don't you publish also a book?
Wow.
So now I showed him how to edit, how to type on the computer, and then now with COVID, that like he has no work to do. He's at home, he's typing his own poetry, and he's so excited about it.
Exactly,
It
exactly.
inspired your dad to put his love of his life, his wife's love in a book.
Yes,
Phenomenal.
yes.
If you can go back to your personal life, professional life, share with us one lesson learned from your past journey that you say, I wish I knew about that. I'm going to ask the same question to you. Start thinking. Anyone, or either of you can go first. Lesson learned from past experiences that you want to share with people today. Anyone.
I have one.
Go ahead. And in the meantime, you think about it.
Okay.
Keep going, sister. Keep going.
Yeah, that's true.
Keep going. Sleeping on the streets, or having no money, or no food, I think we all went through it.
But I think we have always, we have angels. We always said like, the most of our family passed by, with cancer or different diseases, right? So we always think they are showing us, and they are supporting us, and they are saying like, yes, go, pushing you, like, yeah, let's go.
Taking care of you,
Exactly, because even when I was in the street, I feel safe in one way, When I was traveling, I was sometimes with rich people, sometimes with poor people, but I always felt safe, always. I was also sometimes, one time I remember it was like the worst time ever. I was walking with my dog in Nicaragua, in a place, in a lake. And sometimes I start walking and then I walk farther than I expect. So it was a little bit farther than I expect, and then one guy came, and he started, like he wants
Harassing you.
yeah, exactly. So I have a really great dog, called Gaia, and she took care of me because she started biting the guy, you know? So this happens, but even if that happens, you know, I went out from that, you know, and I'm still alive, and I'm still
Moving
so
forward.
exactly, because those things will happen all the time in your life, always. You know, it's like yesterday we met also a guy, right? That he was like 40 years, or also with with Rick Giha. He was he was rich, and then he lost and broke and lost everything, right? And he started to do it again from zero. You know that happened.
Exactly.
You're gonna struggle all your life. That's why we are all resilient.
Yes.
And that's awesome. It's an awesome word, you know, and this is what we want to focus, you know, like we feel like we are resilient leaders, and we want to teach that to the world, you know. It's always a good possibility to go stronger and do it better the next time or this time.
Exactly.
Love it.
Amen, sister. Well said.
Well said. And everything in English.
Everything in
I
English,
I couldn't speak a word of English like a few years ago.
Yes.
But you're resilient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm not going to give up, and you did what you did. This
Yeah.
is phenomenal. Learning about your background story today, truly inspirational. Thank you for taking the time, and hope you enjoyed some coffee.
Of course.
Guys,
Yeah, sure.
Stay tuned. Follow the Tecles
Tecles.
tongue twister. Follow the Tecles Sisters on social media platform. Read their books, subscribe to them. But if you have a need to get encouraged or motivated, uplifted, reach out to them. They inspired me today. Absolutely, yes. They can inspire you no matter where you live in the world. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kunal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Also. Perfect resilience.